Greetings, everybody. I am coming to you from my 2014 Mercedes-Benz GLK 250 BlueTech 4MATIC. Just wanted to give a quick update. Yesterday I did a transmission service, basically drain and fill, replace the filter. That job, if you are prepared and you know what you're getting into, it's not bad. I was very meticulous throughout the whole process, and I want to say it took me less than 2 hours. The first time I did that job on my E350, it took me 12 hours, and I got burned on my arm from the exhaust. I was just all over the place. So that's a job that is actually not that bad if you know what to expect, you know what you're getting into, and you study very carefully ahead of time, and of course you have the right tools. I got the transmission pump from FCP Euro, and it is excellent. I mean, it only took like a minute or two to pump all the oil in. So with this car, I didn't even look, but this car, pretty sure does not have a torque converter drain plug, and so it only took, I don't know, 4.5 liters and this one has the blue fluid. So I'm just out now. This is actually my third test drive. The first one was really quick because I didn't have much time. Just a test drive in varying conditions, upshifting, downshifting, and so forth. Seems to be pretty good. The last batch of fluid had, I don't know, about 83,000 miles on it, something like that. It was done at 63,000 initially, so this was actually the second transmission oil changed. Because it was still pretty close to the recommended interval of 70,000, I really am not noticing much of a difference on shifting. But once it dries out, I do intend to do some more acceleration videos to see if the transmission fluid, the fresher transmission fluid, will reduce the friction to give me a faster 0 to 60 time. Definitely kind of curious about that. But yeah, other than that, still shifts exactly the way it did before. And then, I think I didn't finish saying this. I noticed when I was under there, the transmission pan by the drain plug is starting to rust. So I'm going to have to keep my eye on that. I think it's fairly thick, so it's probably not going to rust through anytime soon. I may hit that with a little extend rust treatment, but I want to be careful that I don't accidentally weld the drain plug in there. But that does seem to be something that could potentially happen in the future, is that it would spring a leak from rust. But at the moment, it just seems to be some surface rust. I mean, the car is only 10 years old, but you never know what could happen in a northern climate. There's a lot of little birds flying around. I'm not sure what kind they are. But anyway, yeah, it's going through all 7 gears, no issue. Downshifting when it's supposed to, upshifting when it's supposed to. Sorry about all the wind noise. I've got my sunroof open. You can see it just shifted to 7 there. Very smooth. Well, as smooth as this transmission gets. These from brand new were always a little jerky because I did have a new GLK. Actually, I had 2 of them, a 13 and a 14, and the transmission does have a few rough shifts, but that's just characteristic and not an issue. You start noticing the issues when you feel vibrations under light acceleration in higher gears. and that usually can be resolved by an oil change. So it probably wasn't critical that I changed it, but I wanted to get it done. I'm not going to have to worry about it now for another 5 to 7 years, depending on how many miles I drive, and I probably will push it past 70,000. Maybe, I don't know, we'll have to see. I mean, considering that I only changed, I don't know, 60% of the oil, may do it a little bit sooner, but it'd probably still be fine just waiting. The magnets in the pan were not bad at all. There was just a tiny bit of metal on them, so I cleaned those off, cleaned the pan out very thoroughly. There was no sludge in the pan or anything like that. Everything looked good. The fluid was black, but it still had a decent viscosity to it. I mean, it came out pretty well. It was no doubt thicker than what I put back in. But yeah, if you want any tips on this job, comment down below and I can give them to you. I learned a lot from the utter failure of my first attempt at that job compared to this time around. So I've learned how to make it a much better job. And again, I typically am not going to go into repair videos because there's like dozens of how to change your transmission oil on this transmission. I didn't really need to add mine other than just a couple general comments. But other than that, that is about it for this video. I did actually want to comment on one more thing. I did not torque the drain plug. I just basically tightened it like I tightened the oil drain plug, just by feel. But I did actually use a torque wrench on the pan bolts. So I've heard there's two options. You can torque it to 4 Newton meters and then go 180 degrees, or you can torque it to 8 Newton meters. So I'm actually going to close this sunroof for getting on the highway. So I had bought an inch-pound torque wrench, but I miscalculated and it was a 1/4 inch drive, and the star bits that I have are 3/8 inch drive, and I did not have an adapter. So I actually have a torque wrench that starts at 5 foot-pounds, and I did the math and found out that 5.8 foot-pounds is 8 Newton meters. So I was actually able to use my my big torque wrench to get those done. It actually started registering about 3.9 foot-pounds, even though it starts at 5. 5 is like the lowest, but it started kicking in the display around 3.9. So torque those all to 5.8 and should be good to go. I did check for leaks after I filled it up. The other thing I want to recommend is that the temperature. So you set the level at, it's 45 Celsius, 113 degrees Fahrenheit, and I had driven the car and then pulled it up on ramps and did the job, and by the time I was done with everything, it was still too warm. I actually used my X-Pros gauge to get the temperature, and it was like 132 or something like that. So I actually had to let it cool down a couple hours. I cooled it down just to 109, and then I knew I had to act quickly. I basically started the car, cycled through the gears, drive, neutral, reverse once or twice, and then that pushed it up to 110, and then I hurried up and took care of adjusting the fluid at that point. The only snag I ran into using the FCP Euro device was I had clamped the pump too tightly onto the drain plug, the adapter, and had to basically just twist the whole hose to get it off, because I knew I had a very small window of time. It came off of there because I hadn't screwed it all the way in. So that's the other tip, is make sure that you are able to loosen the pump adapter off of the transmission pan adapter. But other than that, it basically went without a hitch. The only spillage I had was after I disconnected the pump from the adapter. The hose kind of flopped around a little bit. I had laid towels down under the drain pan. I had two drain pans, one for the initial catch of fluid, and then the other one to catch the filter. So I only had minor spills, not too bad. It could have been worse. I've had oil changes that were way worse, like where the oil splashes everywhere. Okay, well, I guess I had a lot more to say about this than I realized. If you've made it this far, thanks for listening. Hope you got something out of it, and have a great day.